Okay, let's go across to Gaurav Sawant, who joins us live. He's in Kyiv city right now. Gaurav, another cold day in Kyiv. It looks peaceful behind you, Gaurav. It's snowing. I can tell it's snowing, so the temperatures have dropped. But the temperatures outside the city you're in right now couldn't possibly be higher. Air raid sirens, have been blaring since last night. What are you hearing? What's the latest? They're edging ever closer.
Shiv, the Russians are edging ever closer, and it's not just other cities, but even Kiev that resembles a virtual ghost town. Imagine a bustling city like Kiev, packed to capacity, filled with tourists. Barely a fortnight ago, not a soul in sight, or barely a soul in sight. Some people desperate to leave, as you can see, across the road with their packed bags, desperately moving towards the railway station, wanting to get out as quickly as possible. It's snowing heavily since late last night. Air raid sirens, as you said, going off repeatedly here in Kiev, and there is absolutely no movement anywhere. No shop, no supermarket, no department store, nothing is open. People just want to leave this city because of that ever-inching convoy. Shiv, I've just had a conversation that we will shortly play out on India Today about some people actually coming back to fight. While we were reporting from here in Kiev, a vehicle stopped right here and a person came out and said, while as the Statue of Liberty in the United States is being draped in the Ukrainian colors of blue and yellow, they want the entire democratic world to stand up with Ukraine, not just for Ukraine, but with Ukraine. Because if Ukraine falls today, it'll be other democracies tomorrow, and Russia will not stop just with Ukraine. It was Georgia, it was Crimea, it's Ukraine, and then they'll keep expanding and the world will remain a mute spectator. Shiv, the weapons and systems that Ukraine desperately requires, and especially the ATGMs and the SAMs, the anti-tank guided missiles and the surface-to-air missiles, while the world is pledging these systems...
I apologize for interrupting you. We've got some breaking news. I'm going to come to you right after I take that breaking. The Indian Air Force is now being roped into the entire rescue effort. We told you 5 days ago that the Indian Air Force was on standby. The Prime Minister has called for the Indian Air Force now to join Operation Ganga. The Indian Air Force is likely to deploy its C-17 heavy lift transport aircraft to be part of Operation Ganga, which basically means these high-capacity aircraft will be flying into places like Hungary, Poland, Romania, and Slovakia to bring Indian students back from there. That's an Indian Air Force C-17 aircraft. They're stationed at the Hindon Air Force Station just on the outskirts of Delhi. And these aircraft will be bringing students back. They've been put on standby. The Prime Minister has activated the Indian Air Force, Akshita. We've seen these aircraft in action all through the COVID pandemic, yes, and also to bring people back from Afghanistan.
You and Gaurav know better than anyone, perhaps, Shiv, about how the IAF can make things much smoother in this kind of challenging circumstances, in this kind of an evacuation operation. The fact that a C-17 will be involved will mean, of course, that things are more efficient, that these kind of evacuations, yes, can happen much faster, much rapider than they are right now.
Gaurav, airspace where you are still completely closed. No signs of it, of that status changing anytime soon. But this is something that you and I broke, a few days ago. And now it's proven to be correct. The Indian Air Force's biggest aircraft, C-17s, could soon be headed to, air bases around the land borders of Ukraine to pull out Indian nationals and Indian students.
Shiv, much needed at this place as thousands head towards the west to get to various borders, whether it's to Poland or to Hungary or to Romania or even Moldova, desperate to get out of this country, and some even heading, towards Slovakia. C-17s can lift much more than what civilian transport aircraft can, and civilian aircraft can. Also, if you remember, in Afghanistan, the US Air Force, I think, set a world record of lifting more than 800 people in an aircraft. Of course, that was a short-haul air bridge that was made. But C-17s, the largest, transport aircraft that the Americans use or the Indians use at this point of time, is something that will be much required to lift more children and more students and more Indians out of this country as they get there in numbers. Shiv, but the bigger challenge remains for these children to get to these borders, because a lot of problems are being faced right from reaching Kiev,
Yeah.
reaching the railway station, boarding a train, getting to Lviv, and then getting a train from Lviv or a vehicle from Lviv to the border. So challenges immense even within this country. Crossing the border remains a challenge. Perhaps the four ministers would be able to help smoothen things up with officials there to tide over all the problems that are being faced. But this heavy lift transport aircraft being deployed would really help Op Ganga pick up steam, pick up speed, and bring Indians out of harm's way. Shiv and Akshita.
Gaurav, stay with me. This is very good news. This is going to be extremely heartening. A day after the Indian government announced that 4 ministers are headed to those countries. Now, the Indian Air Force's big boys, the C-17, very, very reassuring sight. Big heavy lift transport aircraft, built for conflict situations, are going to be landing in those countries to pull Indian students out, as Akshita said, much more efficiently, higher capacity, and they have very, very rapid turnaround, much higher than any Air India aircraft. So this is going to really, really speed up the pulling out of Indian nationals. I know Indian parents who are watching India Today, and all Indian parents who are watching India Today, are going to be reassured by this news. We'll keep you posted on the logistics and what needs to be done to get onto one of these aircraft as soon as we hear about when these aircraft are going to be heading there.